Monday, April 21st, and we are live on PuckTime, WagerTalk TV. Myself, Andrew McGinnis, and Brian Leonard, and we are excited to break down a handful of games for you guys today. The playoffs have been exciting so far. However, not one single upset so far. Will that take place tonight in the Capitals Canadiens game, Jets Blues game, Stars Avalanche game, or the Kings and the Oilers game? We'll break down those games. We'll touch on all of them in a little bit. I'm sure we'll have a little bit more to say than the others. And of course, all of our favorite plays, our best bets are found over at WagerTalk.com. Brian, you know why I'm wearing my red today? I'm excited, and I'm hoping my team is the first underdog to win in the playoffs so far. But your overall impressions of the games so far, and how you're doing so far this morning?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Had a 5% play last night on the Vegas Golden Knights. It was interesting because I put it up in, I think it's the 190 range, and I gave all the reasons, and I said, as long as you're not laying over 220 in this game, I think it's a bargain. Well, it ended up getting bet all day long, and I believe it might have closed past 240, which you don't see very often where you get a line that's moved that much, but that was the right side. Although the early parts of the game, Minnesota was right in there. This is a different team when they're fully healthy. So I think it'll be a pretty good series overall. But yeah, I really liked that one yesterday. I read an article the other day, and it was talking about home ice advantage, and we've talked a little bit on this show about it. This year, in the last, I believe it was the last 20 years, this is only the second best home ice advantage win percentage over the full season. There was one other season where they had a higher number. So the home teams have done very well this year. If you've been backing home teams, you know that. And if you've been playing road underdogs, you've been struggling. So it does not surprise me at all to see the better teams coming out, getting these victories. The only one that didn't was Dallas, and that's a team, what are they, on an 8-game losing streak now? A lot of concerns in Dallas when one of your best players is not going to play once again today. But the other teams, every other home team stood ground. So, well, maybe that's something that we could take advantage of as the rest of the playoffs go on.
Most certainly, Brian, and congratulations on that 5%. What a start to the playoffs already, cashing a 5% play. And I guess it's a good time for me to mention Carmine will have a 5% play tonight up at WagerTalk. He's got one. He's on a massive 15-1 run right now at WagerTalk with NHL plays, 17-3 with premium plays at WagerTalk. And I don't have a 5% play on a game tonight, but I have a 5% series bet loaded. So let's all try and start off the playoffs on a really good note, Brian. You cashed one already. Brian's going tonight. I got a 5% series play going tonight, so let's try and do our best there with that. We warn people not to overreact too much from one playoff game to the next, but as Brian said, the home teams have done very well. All right, Brian, people are here for the picks. That's what they want to talk about. The game's going on tonight. Washington Capitals hosting the Montreal Canadiens, and of course, the Montreal Canadiens have been in playoff mode for about 6-7 weeks now, or some might say they've been in playoff mode since late December, because that's how long they've needed to play relatively well to go on this surge to make the postseason. Using the Odds Logic website, we have seen money come in on the Montreal Canadiens opener -200, Pinnacle -174, Circa -177. But it is tough for a young team to go into Washington and play such a veteran-built team like this. Total side, what sticks out for you?
Actually, I believe those numbers are wrong. It should be just the opposite. Montreal's a 185 favorite in this game. I've got my game of the year, I'll tell you that. Yeah, it's just the wrong team favorite there. But in the last 30 days of 5-on-5 play, expected goal numbers, 46.10 for the visitor, 53.02 for the host. You take a look at the entire season, we find Montreal at 46.96, Washington at 51.16. And the Canadiens are the only team in the East with a negative goal share. They come in at -20, while Washington is at +56. A huge +76 goal advantage for the Capitals. And when you take a look at that, you mentioned the Canadiens fighting out for the playoffs for a long time. Washington is a team that's really got off to a great start and kind of coasted into the playoffs. We saw that a little bit in the first 10 minutes of the Minnesota-Vegas game last night, where Vegas was pretty caught up. And the last week or so, they were able to rest some players, and it kind of affected them early. So I think Montreal may have an advantage in the first 10 minutes. So it may be a game where maybe first team to score, I think, is probably going to be a pretty good bet here on Montreal. Washington won the 2 of the 3 regular season meetings, with the lone loss coming in overtime. And I talked about this in my write-up yesterday over the Knights game. You've got to throw out all the overtime games because you're playing in different roles, and the shootouts and overtime. Some teams have been very good. Some teams have been very bad. It was the Knights where I believe they were 3-7 on the season in those overtime games. So if you throw those out, it makes their regular season record look even better. And so you got to fudge the numbers a little bit here when you're handicapping all of these teams. So it's going to be different with those overtime rules. So you back out those games, and it gives you a little bit better numbers if you're looking to handicap each and every game. As I mentioned, this is a team playing with playoff hockey, and they've done so for a long time against a team that has been taking it easy for a while. But can the Capitals just turn it back on? This is a very good team. They've got their number 1 goaltender back in goal tonight. I think they can, but laying the minus 180 here is a concern because I think there's going to be a little bit of the first period is going to be a situation where I don't expect Washington to have the lead after the first. So the way I'm going to take a look at this is I am going to play Montreal first period, and then I'm looking to play Washington live after that point. And hopefully I can get us a couple of plus money, or at least an even money on the live for Washington if they're down 1-0 early. So that's the way I'm taking a look at this one. But I'm excited for your Montreal Canadiens. But unfortunately, they and Minnesota, who we saw yesterday, are the only 2 teams that had a negative goal advantage over the entire season. But Montreal's in playoff form. We'll see if Washington can come out the way they did earlier in the year.
I just hope this series goes similar to how it did the last time the Capitals and Canadiens met in the playoffs when the Habs were huge underdogs. But time will tell what can happen there. But you're right, Brian, about that. And I'm going to try my best, as you know, to not be defensive of the Montreal Canadiens because I'm not here to do that. But there's 2 things we can ask ourselves, and I'm going to go back to you with this because I'm very curious here what you think, because I know we look at a lot of these numbers, and when I look at expected goals numbers, sometimes I hear you say last week or last month 5-on-5 or last X amount of time. A lot of I've listened to a lot of interviews, podcasts featuring both Washington Capital writers and Canadiens writers, and they've pretty much said this. Which team do you think will show up? The Capitals from the first half of the season or the Capitals from the second half of the season? The Canadiens from the first half of the season or the Canadiens from the second half of the season? Because if you take the goal differential from January to this present day, you're saying great things about Montreal. So Montreal lost like several games by, 7-2, 8-1, 8-2. They looked like a whole different team in November and December. So with that being so far, so long ago, how much do we take into account those numbers? Because that's the thing to me that I struggle with goal differential is that, that was months ago. And now here we are in April. But I guess sometimes it is good to zoom out, as Gianni was saying, look at the full picture. What do you think about that?
I trust longer time frames over the shorter time frames. That said, you're right. Montreal is a different team now than they were earlier in the season. But you have to, we've all played sports and we've all dealt with this for a long time. If you're Washington and you get out to that huge lead, there's a little bit of disinterest. You're going to the playoffs. They had the injury to the goal, the best goalie on the team. He's back now. So it's tough to bring it every single day for 82 games. Halfway through the season, they were probably looking at the playoffs, said, okay, we're there. Let's deal with it when it comes. And there's a little bit of disinterest. Montreal had to look at it the opposite way. I think we get second half Montreal combined with first half Washington.
Right.
and it's the best of both teams. And the Montreal Canadiens are better, much better than they were earlier. And we just, like I said, can Washington turn it back on. They'll turn it on for the series. If they don't turn it on this game, they can get beat and get surprised because Montreal's been in that run for a while. So that's one of the reasons why I like the first period for Montreal. We'll see it as it goes on. We saw, the St. Louis game the other day against Winnipeg. St. Louis was better in the first period too, because they were the team fighting for the playoffs, whereas Winnipeg had a big lead. So Winnipeg obviously has a lot more talent than St. Louis does, so they were able to come back and get that victory. But it's something to keep an eye on the first part of these games, see how long it takes for the better team to get back in their full action.
Well, Brian, I'm sort of piggybacking off you, and I don't usually make these plays, but the funny thing is I've kind of been betting this a little bit in baseball lately, sometimes with free plays as well, where, as you know, I've become a team totals guy. And in baseball, I've been doing not just the full game team totals, the first 5 innings team totals. Well, in this game in particular, I'm going to do the first period team total, and we're just betting the Habs to score a goal at minus 130. And I know some people might say, well, why aren't you taking that nice plus money on the first period winner? Because, it very well could finish 1-1 and then nobody wins. But I think that for this Habs team to get on the board to all the points that Brian just raised, I think that they will score early on. Will they give up a goal? Will they give up a power play? Will the Capitals come out firing as well? That very well could happen. But since the Four Nations break, the Habs in goals allowed, they're 7th. The Capitals are 25th. Goals scored. The Habs right now, they're at the top, and the Capitals are about medium. Habs goals allowed 5-on-5, 8th. Capitals goals allowed 5-on-5, they're 30th. So things have been a little bit different since the Four Nations, and I'm hoping that kind of translates over into the first period. As I said, over half a goal team total first period for the Canadiens is minus 130. I think the key for this team is the transition game. The key for the Capitals is using their experience, hemming the Canadiens into their own end and kind of just dominating possession using their size. This is clearly a game of experience here. This is the official youngest team in the history by average age to ever make the playoffs. Sometimes what doesn't know you won't hurt you, or what you don't know won't hurt you. But also sometimes the lights can be a bit too bright for you, Brian. We're going to find out which one of those works for the Canadiens. But both of us think that Canadiens will look good early on, but then the Capitals will go to their old form and take care of business. I'm just riding with that first period, Brian, and we'll see what happens from there. We talked about St. Louis. We talk about this matchup with Winnipeg, and I love what you said, Brian, about the fact that they look good early on. I mean, who would have thought that the start of Winnipeg, St. Louis would have had more action, more goals, more theatrics than the start of Dallas and Colorado? And don't get me wrong, Ottinger and Blackwood are good goalies over there in Colorado and Dallas. But if you look at kind of the scoring ability, I would have thought we would see more fireworks in the Colorado and Dallas series. Well, it was 2-2 after the first period. And a lot of people say that Hellebuck's the best goalie in the world, Brian, but his playoff numbers indicate he's the best regular season goalie in the world. I think that they got away with a win, and Hellebuck didn't really have a good game. And to me, I would be really upset if I'm St. Louis, because if they play a good game, if Winnipeg plays a good game offensively, but their goalie lets them down in game 1 and they still win, I think Winnipeg takes game 2. I think they win once again, because I think that was a game for St. Louis to steal. What do you think?
I'm kind of with you on this one. I'm going to look at it a little bit of a different way. In 5-on-5 play, the last 30, we've got the Blues expected goals at 43.19, which is pretty poor, while the Jets come in at 56.40, exactly as you would expect. The entire season, St. Louis is a 49.22, the Jets 52.41. Winnipeg had a plus 65 net goal advantage in the regular season, and as you mentioned, they won 5-3 in the series opener. According to the Money Puck deserved a win meter, Winnipeg had a 63.1% chance to gain that victory. So they were the better team. The expected goals were 3.65 to 1.82 for the Jets. yet the Jets managed to score 3 in that game. St. Louis had a slightly losing record on the road, 20-21 on the season, while Winnipeg's been terrific at home, 30-11. I do prefer Winnipeg in the game, but the line's a bit more than I'm comfortable with right now. I think I'm going to play the St. Louis team total under in this one, and that would look back at what you were saying, where St. Louis got that early start and the Winnipeg goalie did not play well. I think after scoring 8 goals in the previous game, and I expected a lower scoring game, we're looking at 5.5s here. I think the Winnipeg defense comes to play today. Don't want to lay the 180 or the high price number here. I am going to take St. Louis team total under, and that will be my best bet on this play.
Brian, I'll have to try and be creative here and mix and match and find something new, because I promise you last night I'm on my laptop and this is what I landed on as well as one of my favorites in this game. And I felt like the team total price, I wasn't interested. I do believe that Winnipeg can be one of those teams that can certainly win games without having to score that magic number of 4. I've been lecturing and preaching on Twitter, though, about these team totals, how well they've looked, because most of the season or playoffs so far, I think every game besides last night's game, we see the winner reach their team total. And I think that that's going to be something that we're going to look at a lot of, or no, actually Vegas scored 4 as well. So every team so far this playoffs has scored at least 4 goals that has won the game, right? So you look at all these chalky prices with minus 190s, 200s, 140s, 50s, whatever they might be. And the winner of all of these games have scored at least 4 goals, reaching that magic number. So, could we step into the world of another team total over for Winnipeg and look for maybe that empty net goal gets you over, maybe a third period kind of surge gets you there? Absolutely. And Brian, I've talked a lot about how I changed my handicapping method a little bit this season, which helped me have the success I've had by limiting juice big time. The team total today, over 3.5 goals, is plus 130, right? And you look at every game so far, the early Winnipeg game, the Colorado game, the Maple Leafs game, the Hurricanes game, the Vegas game, every winner has scored at least 4 goals. So I am very tempted to play that again if I like Winnipeg. But you look at St. Louis here, I just think that for them to not win that game and for them to not have success, you talk about the deserve to win meter, you talk about the expected goals for the St. Louis Blues, but I don't think Hellebuck's going to let in those type of goals again. I think that Hellebuck goes to the locker room and he says, man, I had a bad game and we won. Right? I did not play my best hockey and we came out on top. Those goals that I let in, I'm not really proud of. And I'm not saying that Binnington played much better. There's probably some goals that he would like to have back as well. But, I think another way you could look at it too, if you want to try and look for some plus money, is by looking at Winnipeg to win the first period at plus 135. Because people talk about, well, the team that lost the first game is going to come out hard. They're going to want to respond. But let's not forget, until the very end, I mean, it was all Blues in the first period, Brian. So maybe we see all Winnipeg in the first period, despite them being the team that's up 1-0. But I think we see a kind of more lower scoring defensive game. But, Brian, we're seeing all 5.5s for totals. And I know that you're more of a money line bettor in hockey. Mm-hmm. We're seeing all 5.5s totals for these playoff games. And I know the playoffs are different. Physicality, it's more exciting. Hell, I'm more excited to do this show today to talk about the playoffs. That's just how people get. But at the end of the day, it's still low for 2025 NHL hockey. And we see now we've had a handful of these games just slip over the 5.5, whether it's been a late empty net goal, whether it's been a third period goal here. These 5.5s for some of these teams. And that's why the team total is so good to utilize for whether it be the under or over. But what are your thoughts on these 5.5s? So are we going to see 5.5s all the way through the postseason?
I read an article, and I don't remember all the details, but they talked about in the playoffs, there were more penalties called because you're playing the same team 7 straight games. There's going to be a lot of physicality. We saw that early on. Minnesota was very physical against Vegas. That you could tell that was their game plan. So when you have more penalties, that means more chances to score on the power play. And pretty much any team that is in the playoffs at this point has a pretty good power play. That's how you take advantage during the regular season, and that would give you more scoring in the playoffs. You also have every single game in the playoffs where if a team falls behind, every game is so important that they will pull their goalie a little bit earlier. Certain teams did not do it overall, and it's hurt them so far. But if you're down, a couple goals late, you're gonna pull here. Where in the regular season, it's like, well, we got to play again tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? So I would not surprise me if some of these 5.5s are go over. Maybe you're onto something there. We'll have to see how this goes. But yeah, it's something. It's a different game in the playoffs as it is in the regular season, and that is kind of my concern with Montreal in that game because they are so young. The physicality of it. So if they come out physical, I think Montreal in the first period is a good play. But we'll see how these all go. But from a total standpoint, yeah, it's tough to go under unless you're talking about two teams that know each other very well, and we actually have a game like that on today's card.
One player prop I like in this one is forward Alex Iafallo from the Winnipeg Jets over his number of 1.5 shots on goal. In playoffs, I don't like as much betting the 2.5, 3.5 guys. I like finding these 1.5 guys, and Iafallo 6 straight home games for him. He has to hit this over. He hit it obviously in the last one against St. Louis. He's someone that goes a little bit under the radar with Scheifele, with Connor, with some of these more fancy guys. Iafallo, guys, minus 130 over 1.5 shots on goal. I actually haven't given out a prop yet. I've been on a few shows talking props. But we'll see if things settle in. The one thing you'll say is obviously depth's important, but to Brian's point about the power plays, I mean, Nathan McKinnon had 3 points for Colorado. Martin Necas had a point. Drouin had a point. You look for the Maple Leafs. If you're betting props, Tavares had a point. Nylander had a point. Marner had a point. Matthews had 2 points. I mean, I personally believe that, guys, prop betting is probably more profitable in the playoffs in the NHL than it is in the regular season because a lot of times their bottom 6 players, they're playing defense, and the top 6 players, they're playing offense. So we'll see how that goes a little bit with the props, but I truly believe it is a good time to make money betting props right now. Guys, final 24 hours of our great deal, $11 per day, 7 days of expert picks, whether it be hockey, basketball, baseball, UFC, golf, whatever you are into, $11 a day. It's a great deal. And Brian, you're doing, of course, baseball right now. I know you do playoff basketball, hockey. What's new with you right now?
Actually, I've got three shows to do early in the morning, so I'll be putting my plays up a little bit later. And we'll see how everything goes. But as of right now, we're expecting a few plays overall. It's a smaller card in baseball. It's a Monday. Basketball, we've got a couple games we're looking at. Had a nice winner yesterday on the Cavaliers. So the dominant teams in the NBA, we saw Oklahoma City win by 50 yesterday. And the team, all three of the best teams, which is, to me, in my opinion, Boston, Cleveland, and Oklahoma City all won. It's a situation in the beginning of the first round of the NBA where you've got the haves and the have-nots. We'll see how that turns out in hockey. As so far, it's been that way through the first game of most of these series.
And I know I'm biased here, Brian, being the host of a hockey show right now, but I'd rather watch a 4-1 hockey game than a 50-point blowout NBA game. But that's just me, because looking at some of the scores yesterday, if you're not betting on those games, how the hell are you getting any entertainment off 50-point blowouts? I don't know. Even that Warriors game, I had a small play personally on Warriors first half. The second that half ended, I turned it off. I didn't watch the rest of the game because Warriors ran away with it. And I believe that game was close to a pick pregame, wasn't it? That was the only game that had really close odds. But as I said at the start of the show, we can't overreact. We can't overreact to just one game in each series. And of course, it's right now when you start the playoffs, it's the bottom seeds versus the highest seeds. So we're expected to see some stuff like that take place. Okay, this is a series that, and feel free, Brian, if you've got some client plays or if you have anything you don't want to mention or passing or, just want to throw out some information, that's fine as well. Edmonton and LA, it's just such a funny story because people are not happy with how the formats worked out, the seedings worked out. It's the same teams again, Brian. It's the same teams again. But a lot of people think this could be different this year. With the way that the teams are built, with the home ice being kind of turned to the Kings. And I like the Kings on their home ice, not as much about their fans, but about getting that last change, about getting to kind of protect their home ice and how well they've played at home this year. And we're seeing them favorited, I believe, for the first time in the last 4 years in this opening playoff series. What are your thoughts overall? I mean, about the fact that the same teams are playing each other so many years in a row in round one.
It's just the way it works out. There's not much you can do about it. This reminds me kind of the Minnesota Twins and the New York Yankees in Major League Baseball. The Yankees would get to the playoffs every single year. Minnesota would have a team. This is the year. And the Yankees continue to find ways to knock out the Minnesota Twins. The way the Twins are playing right now, I'm not sure if the playoffs are in their future. But yeah, this is the one where I just mentioned two teams that know each other very well. Over the last 30 days, 5-on-5 expected goal share, Edmonton 55.08, LA 52.11. The entire season, it's the Oilers at 54.46, Kings at 54.28. So very tight teams, very good matchup here on the season. LA had that plus 21 net goal advantage. And a lot of that came back down to Edmonton took a long time this year to get their rhythm going. It's a different Edmonton team than they were earlier this year. Both teams entered the playoffs playing really well lately. The Oilers won 7 of their last 10. Kings have won 8 of 10. And LA is also an excellent 31-10 regular season at home. And I think that's the big difference this year. If we looked at some of the other teams for the Kings were better on the road than they were at home. They had an outstanding season at home this year. The Kings have won 3 of the 4 meetings, and the host also went 3-1. So the Kings feel pretty confident coming into this year as opposed to other years. Matthias Ekholm remains out for Edmonton. Leon Draisaitl is a go for the Oilers tonight. The line's where we expected it, but we look for a low-scoring affair here. These teams know each other as well as anybody in the playoffs. So I expect this game to go under that posted total of 5.5. You look at the games they played this year, they've all been on the lower end scoring-wise. Edmonton's goaltending is better this year than it's been in the past. So I look for this game to go under the 5.5, and that's my best bet on this play.
All right, the under 5.5 in this one. Brian, there's a way we can both win this, okay? There's a way we can both win this, but I am going to give out the first period over 1.5 goals. And maybe it should be a sign for me because it's probably the first time I've ever looked at an odds board, and currently the updated price at DraftKings is actually minus price towards the under in the first period. I haven't seen a lot of that this season as far as under 1.5, but the reason why, and some people might say this is something you can use, some people might say it isn't, but yesterday I liked the over 1.5 in the first period. It was a client play in the Sens-Leafs game. That is officially a rivalry. That is the Battle of Ontario. That is a really, really passionate rivalry between those two teams, the two fan bases. They know each other very, very, very well. And while the Oilers and the Kings know each other very well, so whether it's physicality, whether it's power plays, whether it's just early chances for both teams, I know both teams have goaltending that can go well, and I know that both teams have good defensemen, but I think that we'll see goals early, and then we'll see the defense settle in. So those are my kind of quick thoughts on that game. I think we see first period fly over. And Brian, I know we got to wrap the show up real quick, but I feel bad because one of the games I did want to get some thoughts on from people, from you and for people out there. You talk about Robertson at the start of the show. I mean, part of me thinks that, you know what, Dallas isn't going to win until they go back home, right? But at the end of the day, they are a talented team. They've been so good all season. They can't give up as many power plays as they did. What's the key to Dallas bouncing back tonight if they do?
If you take a look at the expected goal numbers and the way the game played, it was much closer than what the final score showed. The deserve to win meter showed Dallas with a 54.9% chance. Expected goals, the Stars were 3.84 to 3.64. So Dallas played a lot better than what the final score would show you. And normally I would take a look at those teams playing another game at home. The problem has been they're now on a 8-game losing streak to pick the time that they're going to come out and win. But there's no way that I could lay this number on the road with a Colorado team who is already up in the series. So leaning to play Dallas, trying to figure out a way to play them in this one.
Yeah, and that's the thing you're seeing right now. I mean, a home team down 1-0 in the postseason. Round one, they were the higher seed. They're plus 125 roughly on the money line here tonight. So be interesting to look at here. I do think that Dallas, puts up some goals. I do think they bounce back a little bit, at least offensively. I know you like betting those first periods as well, Brian. I think Dallas first period could be a look. I think Dallas come out flying at home, give it their all in front of their home crowd. Could be a good bet to look at. All right, Brian, I've got my best bet on this game with Valeri Nichushkin. He's a forward on this team. He's an absolute power forward. He did not get on the board in the last game between Colorado and Dallas in game one, but he has been a proven big game player, a playoff player. He did very well last year before he had to leave for personal reasons in the postseason. But this is a player that I think that will have a really big impact, and I think he can score goals in all kinds of ways. He's also a good playmaker, and of course, he's out there on the power play as well. So when you look at some of the top dogs for the Avalanche, you're laying a way bigger price than minus 135 for them to score a point. So I'll bet this number until it gets a little bit too big after he has early on success. So Valeri Nichushkin, Colorado, minus 135. If you try say that name 10 times fast, Brian, it's not easy. But I think he has a good night tonight. What's your best bet overall for the show for the viewers out there?
I'm not sure I could say it one time. Slow. It's we're going to go back to that Edmonton Kings game. I talked about how these two teams have played so far this year. It used to be Edmonton, big offensive team, the Kings, big defensive team. Well, now Edmonton's got a little bit better defense. The Kings have been able to score pretty well this year. But I'm going to play this game under. Both teams know each other very well. The season has been going very, very well for the under when these two teams have played. So the Kings playing home with that excellent home mark, they should set the pace here. And the Kings want to play the low-scoring game, so I'm going to play that under the 5.5.
All right, Edmonton, LA, under 5.5. Guys, again, it's the final 24 hours of that great deal. $11 a day for picks. Your expert of your choice, hockey, basketball, baseball, whatever it is you're interested in betting. Brian cashed a 5% play yesterday. Carmine is on a heater. He has a 5% play going tonight, and I have a 5% series bet up for tonight. So it's a great day, guys, in the NHL. I would be remiss if I didn't give a little go Habs go, because I hope they have a great start, but I hope you guys all enjoy all the games tonight. Make sure you smash the like button on this video, subscribe to our channel, and if you're watching on X, please hit the retweet button. Find Brian on WagerTalk.com, myself as well. We'll see you guys next time right here on Puck Time.